Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Michael, you're watching IDB, and in this video I'm doing my review of the Apple Watch Series 10. I've been using this Apple Watch Series 10 since it first came out. It is living on my wrist every single day, as you can tell by this watch 10, and I have a lot of thoughts I want to share on this watch. A lot of people think this isn't a very big upgrade, but I would say it is actually the opposite, and this is one of my favorite Apple Watches in a very long time. So let's just go ahead, roll the intro, and I'll get into my thoughts on the Series 10. So I want to start by talking about some of the hardware changes in the Series 10. The first thing you'll notice is that the Series 10 is significantly thinner. It is thinner by only about a millimeter, but when it comes down to something so small like a watch that's on your wrist, a millimeter does make a pretty big change. And when you have it on your wrist, small things like having your sleeve go over your watch just feel a lot better. So when I put this thing on my wrist, as you can see here, I have a long sleeve shirt on. It's just a lot easier for my sleeve to go over my watch because it is a lot thinner on the wrist. And then on top of being able to fit under sleeves a lot better, the watch itself just looks a lot more sleek with the added thinness. And one thing that I actually find interesting is I find the heart rate sensor works a little bit better on the Series 10, and I do have a theory about this. Because the Apple Watch is thinner now, it means that the connector for the bands is actually sitting a lot closer to the bottom of the watch, which means that the heart rate sensor is going to be closer to your skin. So when you compare this to another Apple Watch, you can see that where the lugs connect, there is a lot of watch below the connector. But here on the Series 10, Apple has made that space a little bit smaller, so the watch is going to sit a lot closer to your skin. And I mentioned how sleek the watch looks, one, because of how thin it is, as I mentioned, but also because Apple has actually changed up the dimensions of the display, and they've actually made the display wider now. So when your watch is just sitting, you can see it looks a little bit more like a square. If I compare it to the Apple Watch SE, you can see this definitely looks older and it definitely looks like a rectangle. The new Apple Watch Series 10 is still not a perfect square, but with them making the display wider, it definitely looks a little bit better in my opinion. However, all of these design changes is where we get into my first negative point I want to raise, and that is the digital crown is a little bit harder to use because the Apple Watch is sitting a lot closer to your skin. Now, this may just be my own issue because I'm pretty skinny, as you can tell by my wrists. But when I had an Apple Watch Ultra on my wrist and even the Series 9, the crown was a lot easier to turn. But with the watch being a little bit thinner now, you can see that the crown is actually touching my skin and it can be a little bit hard to rotate at times. And now I want to talk about something which has been talked about a lot online, and hopefully I can bring some clarity to this topic. So people are saying that the bezels on the Series 10 are actually bigger than the bezels on the Series 9. And when you're talking about the glass bezels, they are actually, in fact, thicker than the Series 9. I can confirm that the bezel area underneath the glass is thicker. However, that is actually just an illusion because when you're looking at the watch from the front, because of the design changes on the Series 10, you're able to see less of the body of the watch and more of the glass. So you're actually getting the exact same look of bezel area. So it doesn't matter if the bezel is going to be aluminum or glass, you are still getting the exact same look. Now I will toss up an image on your screen right now comparing the Series 9 to the Series 10. And as you can see, the bezel is thinner in terms of the glass on the Series 9, but it is just an illusion. When you're looking at the watch from the front, the bezels are the same thickness when you combine the aluminum frame and the glass. Another topic I want to cover with the Series 10 is this finish. As you can tell, this watch is just beautiful. And when I combine it with this band, I think it looks even better. But Apple has finally brought a glossy finish to a base model Apple Watch. And I think this is absolutely beautiful. So Apple hasn't had the jet black finish in their lineup since the iPhone 7 a long time ago. And that jet black finish, although it was called the same thing, was not as durable as this finish here on the Apple Watch. The jet black finish on the iPhone 7 a long time ago, if you had a toothpick and you dragged it on the back of that aluminum, it would scratch. Whereas here on the Series 10, this is just as durable as the normal aluminum that you'd find on the previous Apple Watches from years ago. So while this isn't my old watch, this is actually my girlfriend's watch, this is pretty much what my Series 9 looked like, as I did have it in a silver color. And you can just tell it looks so much more classy, and actually it looks even a bit more expensive when you have a glossy finish like this as compared to a matte aluminum finish. And as I mentioned, with this new finish, I think that luxury bands are going to look a lot better with this jet black. So I've been using my leather link bands a lot more with this jet black finish. I've been rotating between this dark purple one and this tan color one right here, just because I think they look fantastic with the jet black look. I didn't use these as much when I had my aluminum Series 9, just because I thought the cheap aluminum didn't really look good with leather. But now that I have a glossy Apple Watch and I didn't have to spend the money on the stainless steel or titanium, I think this is a fantastic combination. And I should mention this because I know some of you are going to ask in the comments, but no, you cannot buy these bands from Apple anymore because Apple has switched to the fine woven material for the environment. So I just want to cover a few other hardware changes and then I'll get on to some of the other updates with the Series 10. The first one is Apple has finally removed the red ring finish on the crown if you have the cellular model. So this Series 10 does support cellular, but I think the design looks a lot more clean as they have gotten rid of that red ring on the crown. And then finally, the final design change for the Series 10 is the back of the Apple Watch is now made of aluminum, whereas it was made of ceramic on the previous models. I do actually have something I want to talk about with this though. For the first week of using this watch, I don't know if it was just my skin, which was getting used to the ceramic, but I did get a pretty bad rash on my wrist. It has gone away now, but in the first week of using the Series 10, my skin was reacting horribly to this aluminum back. So just a heads up, if you are switching Apple Watch models, you may have a bit of a reaction with your skin because of the aluminum on the back of the watch. So that was everything I wanted to cover in terms of the design. Now I want to talk about some of the updates Apple has made to the Series 10. And the first one is charging. So Apple has made the charging on the Series 10 a lot faster, and this has completely changed the way I use my Apple Watch. Before, I was really tempted to go and buy the Apple Watch Ultra, just because the battery life on the smaller Apple Watches usually is not that good. And while the battery life is still about the same on my Series 10 as the Series 9, because Apple has decreased the time it takes to charge the watch, I'm able to get like 70% in less than half an hour, which is fantastic. So I can set the watch on my charger, forget about it for a few minutes, and before I know it, it has a pretty good amount of charge in it. So I love that Apple is improving the charging speed. I just hope it doesn't affect the long-term battery health of the watch, because faster charging can degrade the battery inside of the watch. And as is true with every new device, the battery life when I first got my Series 10 was absolutely horrible. If you follow me on Twitter, you probably saw my post, but it was just literally unusable. My watch was down to 25% in literally 2 or 3 hours. So I know that Apple products usually have bad battery life when you first get them for the first few days, but this I think was an outlier. But since then, it has been completely fine. I'd say maybe it's a little bit better than my Series 9. I'd say when my Series 9 was dead at the end of the day, my Series 10 would probably be at about 5 or 10%. So a little bit better, but definitely not anywhere near the Apple Watch Ultra level of battery life. There's also another really cool feature in the Series 10, which I don't know why Apple is making it exclusive to the Series 10, but we are now able to play music out of the Apple Watch speaker. So I go into music, I can hit play, and as you can see, I'm able to play music out of my Apple Watch speaker. I'm going to pause it so I don't get a copyright strike, but this does come in handy every now and then, and I'll give you a very, very weird example. So I was at a dental office getting my teeth whitened, and you know when you get your teeth whitened, you have that really weird contraption in front of your mouth, and they tell you not to move. So I couldn't really reach for my phone, but I did have my Apple Watch on my wrist, and I was able to play music as I was laying in that chair for an hour getting my teeth whitened. So a very, very specific situation, but the ability to play music out of the speaker definitely has come in handy, and it is not a gimmick. Another update that Apple has made to the display on the Series 10 is it is now a wide angle OLED. That pretty much means that you can see the OLED display from more angles. Now at first, I didn't really know what this meant, but after using the Series 10 for over a month, I can tell you that this feature is really fantastic. if I would ever be using my Series 9, if it's on my lap and I'm trying to use it, it would be a little bit difficult to see the screen as the brightness would kind of lower as the angle gets worse. But here on the Series 10, you can pretty much have the watch at an impossible angle and the brightness hardly changes at all. So I have no idea why more people aren't talking about this feature, but the new wide angle OLED display in the Series 10 is absolutely fantastic. And then another thing that's new with the Series 10 is the software. So we get the all new watchOS 11 upgrade. The first thing is we get a few new watch faces. This first one is called Flux, as you've seen throughout the entire video. It's kind of cool. You can choose pretty much any color you want for this watch face, and it's going to give you a very simple depiction of the time as the seconds are sort of ticking up. Another cool thing I can mention with the Series 10 is it is able to update its display at 1 Hertz, which means when your watch is in always on display mode, if I cover it like this, you're still able to see the seconds ticking on the always on display, even though you haven't raised your wrist. Another new watch face with watchOS 11 is called Reflections, which is this one, and you can see the watch face is going to respond to how you move the watch. And then Apple has also updated the Photos watch face, which is going to display the time a lot more seamlessly around your photo. watchOS 11 also brings sleep apnea detection, which unfortunately I don't get in Canada, but it is available in hundreds of other countries. I don't know why Canada is left out, but if you wear your Apple Watch to track your sleep, if it gets enough data over all of the nights, it is going to tell you that you have possible sleep apnea, which is a fantastic feature. And then also new in watchOS 11 is an all-new application called Vitals. Now, I have had a very bad habit of forgetting to wear my Apple Watch to sleep, so I can't really show you what this looks like. But if you wear your Apple Watch to sleep, this is the Vitals app, which is going to show you a bunch of information, such as your overnight heart rate, your respiratory rate, your wrist temperature, your blood oxygen, and your sleep duration. And if you are in the United States, you do not get access to blood oxygen. And another thing which I love is in watchOS 11, we now have support for live activities. So all you have to do is either rotate the crown or swipe up, and you can see any live activity in the top of your stack right here. I love using this with the all-new sports application on my iPhone, as it's always going to give me the latest score in the game right here on my watch. And I've also noticed on the Series 10 and in watchOS 11 that the double tap feature is implemented a lot better. I think it works a lot better and it doesn't glitch out as much. As well, you don't get that ugly finger blue dot animation at the top of the screen when you use double tap now. I can't really give a good example right now because I don't have a notification coming in, but I'll try to get a separate shot of me showing it. Whenever you use double tap, it has a lot of a more smooth animation. And the Series 10 also gets a couple of new sensors, which brings an all-new app to the Apple Watch. So the Series 10 gets a water temperature sensor and also a water depth sensor. So with all these new sensors, we now have the new depth app on the Apple Watch. It says to record depth, submerge Apple Watch, but if you want to get a demo, you can rotate the crown. But demos are stupid, so I'm going to go submerge my Apple Watch into the tub, and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, here we are in the tub. I got some water. It's pretty cold. It's been sitting here for a few days after my ice bath. Let's go ahead and lower the Apple Watch into the water and see what happens. So as you can see, it goes away when you take your watch out, but as you were able to see, it was showing the temperature of the water, and even though it wasn't that deep, it was saying it's 0.1 meters. And now in this part of the video, I just want to talk about normal Apple Watch stuff. Not stuff that is new with the Series 10, but just normal stuff I use every day. And the first one, as you can see here, is the alarm. The alarm on the Apple Watch is the best way to wake up in the morning, hands down. If you don't want to wake up to an annoying alarm clock, the Apple Watch is simply going to tap you awake, and it is the best way to wake up in the morning. Once you start using this to wake up, you'll never want to go back to a normal alarm clock. And then another staple of the Apple Watch is all of the peace of mind features. So whether it is fall detection or crash detection or AFib alerts or the all-new sleep apnea notifications I mentioned earlier, your Apple Watch is looking out for your well-being. So I once slipped and fell on the ice because I live here in Canada when I was shoveling my snow. And although I didn't knock myself out, my watch did detect that I had fallen. So if I had happened to whip my head on the concrete and knock myself unconscious, my Apple Watch would have been able to call 911 for me. So it just gives you so much peace of mind knowing that this watch is looking out for you. If you get into a car crash and you're unresponsive, it can call 911 for you. And if you do an ECG on the watch and it detects an irregular rhythm, it'll tell you, and you can go to the hospital and potentially be put on meds that could save your life. I could go on, but this thing gives you so much peace of mind, and it is literally saving lives as the years go on. And another feature I love on the Apple Watch is phone calls. This is a feature that Apple has had on every Apple Watch since the very first one, and I still feel like it's the future when I'm placing a phone call on my Apple Watch. It just feels so cool. You're able to raise your wrist and talk right into it. I feel like Dick Tracy. So let's go ahead and give Tegan a call and see what she has to say. Call Tegan. Hello, I'm filming a video on the Apple Watch and I'm speaking on my Apple Watch. How do I sound?
You sound good.
Perfect. Okay, I will see you later, sweetheart.
Bye.
Bye. And then I can hang up the call just by double tapping like this, and it has ended the call, which is really, really cool. So just making phone calls on the Apple Watch is really, really cool. Again, it's a feature that's been around for a very long time, but I still love using it even to this day. Also, another thing I want to mention is I believe Apple has finally perfected the action of the side button. It seems like Apple was having an existential crisis as to what they should be doing with the side button on the Apple Watch, but it goes to Control Center, and I think this is exactly how it should work. If you remember the very first Apple Watch, this side button was actually a shortcut to see all of your contacts, which to me made absolutely no sense. And then they changed it to be the dock, where you could see all of your apps. And again, I don't think that was a really good idea. And finally, after 3 changes, they have now made it so the side button now goes to Control Center, and I think this is the best change they have made. And that is because you're able to access Control Center from anywhere. So if you're in an application, you can always click the side button and access your Control Center. So to wrap up the video, I want to tell you exactly how I use my Apple Watch in a normal day. So I've written down a bunch of use cases, and I want to tell you exactly how I use my Apple Watch in a day in the life. So the first thing is, if I wear my Apple Watch to sleep, I'm gonna use the built-in alarm to wake up because it is just amazing. And then I'm gonna go and check the Vitals app, which I really do love with this new update, to see all of my overnight vitals. And then if anything is out of the regular, like my temperature or something, I know that I may be getting sick, or if I had some alcohol the night before, I'll know that that's why. I then will be tracking a workout. So I will go into the workout application, and then I'll either be doing an indoor walk or an indoor cycle here on my Apple Watch. And tracking workouts on the watch is one of my favorite things to do. And also, when I'm tracking a workout, I'm always gonna change my band. So of course, I'm not gonna work out with leather on my wrist. I'm gonna change to one of these really awesome Velcro bands from Apple. And then after my workout, I will start my day. So as I use my Apple Watch throughout the day, I'm just using various features on the watch. So I am responding to calls and text messages. I'm also checking notifications. And throughout the entire time, I'm always using double tap, because that is a feature Apple has added last year with the Series 9, and it is absolutely fantastic. And I love interacting with my watch with just my fingers. I'm also always setting timers. So on my day-to-day watch face, I have a timer shortcut, and I can set any timer with one click. And then also, I am using Apple Pay every single day. So whether I'm in a store or I'm getting a coffee at the drive-thru, I am going to be paying with my watch with Apple Pay. I don't think there is a day where I've had my Apple Watch where I haven't used Apple Pay. This is one of my favorite features. And a funny story, I got my dad an Apple Watch, and I swear Apple Pay is the only reason he wears his watch. He doesn't use any other feature on it, so for him, it's pretty much just a wallet on his wrist. I also like using Siri on the watch every single day. Siri on the watch now does a lot of its processing on device, so it is a lot faster. What's the weather in Las Vegas? You can see we get results almost instantaneously, which is fantastic. Open world clock. So especially when doing actions on device, it works instantly, which is fantastic. So as I'm wrapping up my day and I've been getting notifications and calls and texts and setting timers and using Apple Pay and Siri, once my day is done and I've done all that, I will usually switch over to a more simple watch face. So that's why I have this reflections watch face. I don't need to see all of my complications when I'm winding down my day. So I usually switch to something that looks a little bit nicer like this. And then as my evening is wrapping up, that is when I will charge my watch. So as I'm hopping in the shower, I'll toss this on the charger. Usually it can get about 20 to 30 minutes of charging, which is usually enough to get the thing to about 95% or even 100% sometimes if I take a bit longer getting ready for bed. And then I'll put it on to track my sleep, and then I'll rinse and repeat and do that the next day. So I really love using the Apple Watch every day. It's become a part of my daily routine. As I mentioned at the start of the video, you can see this watch tan. It literally never leaves my wrist. So that is everything I want to talk about with the Apple Watch Series 10. Is this the best, most insane upgrade the Apple Watch has ever seen? No. But after 10 iterations of the Apple Watch, I think Apple has made a bunch of really nice tweaks here that really make this a nice upgrade. Especially if you're coming from the Series 6 or Series 7, I think you're gonna notice a bunch of major improvements and you're gonna absolutely love the Series 10. I now want to hear from you guys. So let me know in the comments if you have an Apple Watch. Let me know which model you have. Also, tell me if you plan on upgrading to the Series 10 or if you already have upgraded to the Series 10. Let me know your thoughts on this new watch. With all that said, my name is Michael. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.